Hello, and welcome to On the Pitch, a Missouri soccer podcast and your home for all things Missouri soccer. I'm your host, Bridger Pretz, and I'll be bringing you the latest news, match analysis, interviews, and stories from every corner of the Missouri and American soccer scene. Whether you're up in St. Louis, Kansas City, Columbia, or anywhere in the Show Me State, this is where Missouri soccer lives. Let's get into it. Welcome to On the Pitch, a Missouri soccer podcast, here with your host, Bridger Pretz. I've got an awesome guest today with Chase Gwynn. Chase, how are you doing?
Doing well today, Bridger. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem, man. I knew that, when I first decided I was going to do podcasts, that obviously let's start local. Let's look at people around here. And you've actually got a really, really cool story because I am a little jealous of you, actually, in your journey that you're doing right now. Not only just your playing career, but also your coaching career already. So I'm a little bit infamous of you, so I want to get your story of how you went from growing up in Orlando, Florida, to now coaching college here in Moberly, Missouri. So just for the people that don't know you, tell us about yourself. Where are you from? Tell us a little bit about your career.
So my name's Chase. Like Bridger said, I'm originally from Orlando, Florida. A lot more sunny and warm than it is here in Missouri. I think the snow is a little bit of a change for me still, being from the South, but got the opportunity to play soccer in college at Wheaton College originally before going to Gordon College. Both of those are Division III schools. And then was able to make a couple appearances professionally after that. So NISA Pro at the time, the team I played for, Chattanooga, is now an MLS Next Pro.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's awesome. Yeah, so they moved up to MLS Next Pro the season after I played with them. Mm-hmm. And then bounced around and got a couple trials at USL Championship and League One teams, but never was able to quite make a career out of it. Yeah. Didn't want to go over to Europe, so got into coaching.
Nice. So, tell us a little bit about, because obviously a lot of the people that are going to listen to this, they're going to be, at least the main goal for this is obviously I want parents who are going to be looking to, how do I get my son recruited or my daughter recruited, or it's even going to be high school players that are going to be thinking about what do I need to do to get to that next level, or even if I'm not even worried about next level of like playing career, how do I find the college that's right for me? What are the things that you look for? But before we even get to any of that, I kind of want to ask you, because a lot of the kids that we're probably going to have on this that are listening to this are going to be high school players. Kind of take me through your high school career. Where'd you go to high school? How was your team? What was the coaching like? Because being, from Orlando, Florida, I would assume you're probably going to have a lot of influence of, Latin America, South American kind of, coaching or even players. What was it like growing up in Orlando and playing high school there?
It was definitely an experience. I got really lucky with my coaches. So in high school, I played for Orangewood Christian School, which was super tiny 1A school.
Is it private?
It is private. Yeah. So in Orlando, private schools are really hit or miss. Okay. I don't think we had a conference game or district game, whatever it's called, here in Missouri, that we didn't mercy rule.
Oh, okay.
For all 4 of my years. We just mercy ruled everyone up until basically the state quarterfinals. Okay.
Now how does it work because obviously here in Missouri we do you do a district and then you'll go now you do a district and then it's quarterfinals, semifinals, Final Four, whatever. How does it work in Florida? Like how do you guys assign? Is it region? Is it?
Yeah, so there's 4 regions in Florida. Okay. So there's the North, there's the Tampa area, there's the East Coast, and then there's Miami. Okay. So we're in the North region. It's like Orlando and up. They're all kind of together. Yeah. So with that, we would always have a pretty easy run to at least the quarterfinals for state, which is considered the region final. Okay, so the quarterfinals of state is just your region's championship, basically. Yes, okay. Basically. So kind of like a district championship here in Missouri. Exactly. Okay. So pretty much mercy rule, if not 5-6-0 up until then. Okay. And then we just had a good team. I had 11 guys in my class alone that played club at a pretty decent level. So my class was really strong. We won a state title my sophomore year. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah, and ended up going back to the state championship my junior year and actually set a Florida unbeaten streak record at 43. So from my sophomore to junior, we had an unbeaten 43 games. Now, who was your coach in Florida? So my coach was Jeff Johnson. His dad actually founded Orangewood's program back when he was a player. Oh, okay. And then He played at Liberty, which is Division I here in the U.S.
Okay.
And then
is that up in Washington, Liberty University?
Liberty University in Virginia.
Virginia, okay, Virginia.
And then he ended up playing USL for a long time. He had a full career as a pro.
Oh, wow.
And so he came back, and he was our coach, and I got really lucky in that sense.
Wow.
And then you mentioned for club, you mentioned kind of that Latin America influence.
Yeah.
All of my club coaches were Hispanic. My head coach was Colombian. My assistant / co-head coach was Venezuelan. He was actually a Venezuelan national team coach at one point. And he didn't speak English. And so I'm just sitting there trying to ask my teammates to translate. And he couldn't even pronounce my name. He's like, Chefe. Because I can't say the S.
Yeah. So with that, like with you being obviously with a Latin coach growing up, how do you think that kind of changed or molded or helped you adapt to your playing style and coaching style now? Do you think it had an effect on you?
Oh, absolutely. I was a brute. I'm a bigger white guy, and that's just, American. I grew up loving football. I'm still a huge Florida Gator fan. Yeah. Like, football I love watching it.
Okay.
So I was always, a big, strong, bruiser, target forward who loved the physical battle. And playing on a team full of, really crafty South Americans. Like, we had Felipe, who was from Colombia, played at FAU, which is Division I, just unreal with his feet.
Yeah.
It was stuff that it's like they forced me to adjust and get the technical side down. Yeah. Which is a huge thing. Because it's like I could physically abuse and basically just pace abuse like you do in FIFA. But they actually forced me to use my feet and use that technical ability, which helped me out a lot.
Yeah. And you are left-footed.
I am.
Yeah. I've seen you play a little bit, and I just definitely noticed that, like, you have that natural, just because you played a little bit of indoor or outdoor, like, you're very calm on the ball. And obviously that helps with the fact that you're a lot younger than me, so you're closer to like where you were in college. I'll tell you now, the older you get and the less you play, you got to play all the time because if not, you lose a little bit of it, right? But I do notice that you're really, really shifty for how big you are. And what position did you play whenever you were in high school?
So in high school, I was actually a left winger. So
okay.
I had a lot more pace. I tore my ACL my senior year in high school, so I didn't play for my senior season.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And after I tore my ACL, obviously natural hormones growing at 17, 18 years old, putting on weight. I went from about 160 up to about 190 when I got into college.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that took my pace down a bit. And that was one where it's like, okay, I was always more of a true 9 in club, but I really just leaned into it and put on the muscle. And to go at the college level, you need to be able to be strong against center backs.
Absolutely.
So that was my kind of story. So going on the left wing, very pacey. I'd like to think skilled enough to beat players. Maybe not all the time, but it's one that I think that definitely helped me out. Having the technical ability to play as kind of a one-on-one type player. But then once you're in the center and you have a little bit less space and time, that helped out a bit.
So you said you won state your sophomore year and made it to the final again your junior year.
Yes.
Right. So a lot of the teams that you played against were mainly a lot of them like from that Miami area. I would assume Miami's probably the hotbed of soccer there, or is it kind of wishy-washy, kind of depending on where you're at?
It depends. There was one school that we had a rivalry with up in Tallahassee. So they
okay.
Their name was McClay. They were the epitome of just American soccer. Yeah. Big man, hoof it up to the 9, knot it down.
Kick it long.
Yep. Yeah. I think maybe 30 passes a half, just hoofing it up there. So
honestly, I hate it, but unfortunately sometimes, especially if you're trying to be more technical and keep it on the ground, playing against teams like that can make it really frustrating. And unfortunately, sometimes teams like that get wins. Yeah. That they shouldn't, but they do. But I mean, it's to each his own, right, on your style. And if it wins games, it's hard to argue against it if it wins games.
Exactly.
Right? That's a lot of times when I talk with my high school girls, like we'll lose to a team or we'll be, not playing very well against teams that just kick it long. And I'm like, they're frustrating you is what they're doing. They're messing up your momentum and everything like that. So I try and keep that focus of how we like to play in the mantra, even if we're playing against teams like that, for sure. So you tore your ACL, and then were you already did you already kind of have the idea that you wanted to go play college soccer, or did you, how did that whole process go? Because I guess missing out on your senior year, how did that affect your college decision, where you'd want to go, what school?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one that I had always known I wanted to play in college. It's one that was never in doubt for me. I was lucky enough to get Orlando Sentinel Player of the Year my sophomore and junior years, which is one of the 3 regions in Florida. So it's almost like winning state player of the year in a sense.
Oh, wow.
And that got me a lot of looks. So I had Florida Gulf Coast, which was Division I at the time, Jacksonville University. JU didn't have my degree, so I ruled them out pretty early on, even though they kept trying to get me on campus and said they would offer me
Now, was
eventually.
this before or after you tore your ACL?
This is before, so this is sophomore year.
Okay.
So my sophomore year is when I was starting to get Division I looks, and a lot of my high school team ended up not playing in college, but a lot of my club team, I think 8 of them played in college, and I think 6 of those were Division I.
Oh, wow.
So I had a lot of studs on my club team, which was nice to play with. But I was pretty set on going to Florida Gulf Coast for a long time, and then when I tore my ACL, they had a coaching change pretty much 2 months within that same time frame. So it went from like the coaches change, I can't play for my senior year. It became pretty clear I wasn't going to go there.
Yeah.
And
that's just like worst timing ever.
Yeah.
That's just so unfair for you. And that happens all the time because the coaching movement in college and even that semi-pro, whatever era, there's so much coach movement that if all it takes is one coach leaving and another coach, you think you're going to go somewhere, that coach leaves and this new coach comes in, he may not see you the way the other guy does.
Exactly.
So. And
that's one that was really hard. And then I wouldn't call it luck. I mean, I'm a Christian. I coach at a Christian college, obviously. You know, I would 100% say that God had the right path for me. And it came from an email that my coach had sent about another player 2 years prior from high school. So my high school coach, I ended up going to Wheaton, which is Division III up in Chicago. I had never really heard of him.
Yeah.
But
I've never heard of them either until I think I met you.
Yeah, they're a Division III powerhouse.
Okay.
And it's something that they were coming off a really, really good run. They were in the Division III Final Four the year before I joined them. They had one guy who got drafted in the MLS to Columbus.
Oh, wow.
So they were really high. They had, I think, 14 All-Americans within 3 years of when I went.
Jeez.
And one of my older teammates who ended up not playing in college had been curious about going there and was trying to go there when I was a sophomore. And the coach from there emailed my high school head coach and asked him about this older player that I played with. And my high school coach was like, he's probably not good enough for college, but I have a sophomore that you want to look at later on.
Yeah.
And apparently Coach DeClude at Wheaton remembered that at some point and saw that.
He never forgot the name.
Yeah, and then reached back out to me my senior year. And it ended up being the spot that I really wanted to go to, and I loved it.
Nice.
So
now you went from sunny Orlando, Florida, and now you're in Chicago. Is that north, south? What part of Chicago is that?
It's in the west suburbs.
Oh, west suburbs. Okay.
About 30 minutes outside downtown.
Nice.
Which was nice for me. I don't like the big cities.
Yeah.
Hence why I'm in Missouri.
Yeah, right. Unless you're in St. Louis or Kansas City, and even some people, if you're from New York, Chicago, LA, they're going to be like, Kansas City, St. Louis, those aren't even cities, just because of how big it is there. So you're playing at Wheaton. What was the training like? Because obviously you went from very high level club, very high level high school, where you said your coach was a professional coach, or he played professionally. What was the training like going from that high school level, that very high level high school level, to now playing Division III, where most of all the guys are on there aren't on scholarship? So what was the change, and what is something that you had to do to kind of get yourself into that level of play?
Yeah, I mean, I came in, and I'll be the first one to say, I was surprised. I was like, oh man, I am not at the standard right here. Wheaton obviously.
Now, do you think having your ACL have played some of that
partially,
too?
But yeah. I also think that we had a good squad, and I wasn't ready for college soccer yet.
Yeah.
So the Coach DeClude at Wheaton, awesome guy, did not see eye to eye with him at all.
Okay.
Him and I did not get along for the most part.
Yeah.
Personally, we were fine, but tactically, opinion of soccer, exact opposite ends.
Okay. And is he American?
He is.
He's an American
So
coach?
he actually coached in MLS for Whitecaps at one point as an assistant. So he was a Whitecaps assistant. He went to Wheaton and played at Wheaton. Mm-hmm. And so he was a very high-level coach. Unbelievable when it came to thinking about the game. Yeah, I think I can't guarantee it. He's slightly autistic. He like hyperfixates on it.
like the good kind. Like he's just very obsessed over one specific thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so it was one that it didn't end up working out for me. I am a very one-dimensional forward in the sense of I'm a poacher. I get in the box, I find the ball, and I put it in.
Okay.
And the roles that he asked me was very defensive. He wanted a very like defensive 9, like a pressing forward.
Oh, you want like you're more staying up with the center back's hip and just staying high.
Exactly. So the priority wasn't can we score. The priority for him was can we defend well and can we keep shape and can we lead a line.
Okay.
Which was just not my strong suit.
Yeah.
And so I'm up there running around like a chicken with my head cut off, and it took me probably about 2 seasons to work my way into the lineup.
Okay.
My freshman year, I played, I think, 60 minutes total. I scored 1 goal, which was nice. But it was all just 2 and 3 minute little niggly appearances, just come in for a minute or two.
So what's one of the ways, that's a great little question that I got out of your segment. It's like when you're not playing, and a lot of times it comes from, I mean, you've already missed out on your senior year. You were high level in a state final your junior year, state champion your sophomore year, high level club, and then you go somewhere where you're not getting playing time. What were the things that you did to keep going forward? To keep, because a lot of times, you hear so many stories where, oh, I went to college, I didn't get along with the coach, I quit, I'm just going to go transfer, go somewhere else. What did you do to keep yourself motivated to keep going?
A large part of it was just belief and respect for my teammates. It's one that, man, we had a guy, it's like, I still talk to him, his name's Pete Whalen, and he was the year above me, he started over me, and he was one of my closest friends. So it's one that I was never jealous of him and outright. Obviously I wanted playing time, but I always felt kind of bad that it would be at Pete's expense, just because of how great of a guy he was to me. Yeah. And it's one that, from that sort of point, it was like, I always knew my worth as a player, and don't get me wrong, I was like, man, I need to be on that field. Like, what is my coach doing? Like, everyone's going to feel like, my coach is not seeing it.
What does he know?
Yeah, exactly. But it's one that you have to just keep that professionalism of, there's 35 other guys on this squad. You know, we had a 36-man squad. I'd probably say 30 of them deserve to be on the field. Yeah. That's just how it is in college. At that point, you're having to treat it like a professional team where everyone's there for a purpose.
Whether it's D3, NAIA, JUCO, in CCAA, Division I, whatever level you are, everyone's trying to get that.
And I got kind of in the first part where it's like, I didn't play for an academy. I played for a really good club team. And D3's shifted now where it's like you're getting all these MLS Next, ECNL kids, and we were starting to get the front wave of that. So, like my recruiting class, we had guys playing in MLS academies. We had guys ECNL. It's like these are really high-level players.
And you don't think that at that Division III level because they're not on scholarship.
Exactly.
You would assume that most of those guys will be, D2 or D1, but a lot of people don't realize, too, is like maybe those D1s or D2s don't have the degrees that these kids want.
Yeah. And so for me, I was doing engineering at the time.
Oh, okay.
And it's one that, like I said, JU was probably the school that got on me first from Division I, but they're a liberal arts school. Like, they don't have engineering or STEM or anything. Yeah. And so I ruled them out immediately, where it's like I probably would have had an offer there if I had just not killed it from the start.
Right, yeah.
But that's a big part of it. It's one that, like, even one of the guys that dragged me and made me a player was part of that culture. He would literally come to my dorm room and just drag me out. Like, I would be like, Chad, I don't want to go work out. And he'd be like, Chase, you're coming.
Yeah. Good. I mean,
it was like
you need that.
Chad was like the 6'5" brolic center back. Like, his name's Chad, and he, like, the memes now with the name Chad, he fit it. Yeah. Like, he's like this 6'5" jack dude, and he would, like, drag me out and make me go work out with him. And he was a fifth-year senior at that point. Yeah. And it's like, he had no right to care about me that much.
But he did. And exactly. He made you probably realize how important it was because he was at the tail end of his career. Yeah. And you're at the beginning. So he probably knew that, hey, if you don't take it serious now, you're going to regret it when you're a senior or when you're out. Like, I think about it all the time about how much I wasted not going as hard as I did in practice. I could have been better in the weight room. I could have been better on the drills. And it's like, you don't realize that you're in the good times until you're out of the good times. Yeah. Like, whether you're a high school kid, whether you're a college kid, whether you're just an old fart that's still wanting to play Sunday League and be healthy, your career does end at some point. Exactly. So take advantage of it while you're in it. That's just huge. And that's cool that you had that guy there. And so you said you did 2 years at Wheaton. Yeah. And then, so you're going into your second season. You didn't get a lot of playing time your freshman year. How'd your sophomore year go?
Sophomore year was a little bit different. So, like I said, really, really defensive focus, which I'm like, all right, this is high-level soccer. I kind of, played it off like I probably just don't know enough.
Now, how did you guys do your freshman year?
My freshman year, we did not make it to the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
I think we lost in the semifinals of our conference.
Okay, but you guys were competitive. You guys were winning games.
We were okay. It was about 500. I would say probably a little bit above 500.
Yeah.
It was coming off of, we had a guy who, fifth year, body was broken. He didn't actually practice. He just would show up on game day, and I think he banged in 15 that season.
Jesus.
He was just old, broken down fifth year.
Yeah. Coach was like, if you just show up not hungover, you're good.
It was one where it's his body was just gone.
Yeah.
And then my sophomore year, it was a little bit younger. So, like I said, Pete Whalen started over me. Mm-hmm. I would get in probably 15, 20 minutes a game now.
Okay, so you're getting more in the lineup and playing more.
And there was a time where they put me in for 5 minutes against Washington University in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And so, really, my first ever big minutes came against WashU.
That's huge.
I came in, they put me in for 5 minutes at the end of the half. Mm-hmm. And I scored one. I put us 1-1 with WashU.
Nice.
And so, got a little 1-2 off of a run, off the post in the bottom corner. Really good finish. Yeah. I was like, okay.
It was the best ever. It was the best ever finish.
And then my coach kind of showed me, he backs up what he says.
Yeah.
I played the entire second half, and I played overtime because it was still 1-1. Mm-hmm. And he didn't take me out because I earned it.
Yeah.
And then goes into the next game. He starts me against North Central University, which is also in Chicago.
Yeah.
They're our school's biggest rival.
Okay.
So we go into North Central. They're a defensive powerhouse. They only gave up 0.3 goals a game. Oh, wow. They don't score, but they don't give up goals.
Yeah. A 1-0 win is like a 10-0 win to them. They don't care as long as they win, pretty much.
Yeah, and then I score another one. I score a header on the back post. I get a second goal, and then it's okay, I'm playing 60-70 now. Goes into the next game, I go a little bit cold and don't get one, and I'm like, okay, now it's back to the bench.
Yeah.
And so I got a little bit of a run mid-season where I'm like, okay, we're back. We're starting to cook. Mm-hmm. But ended up, I think I got 700-800 minutes on the year, which is a big step up from 60 or 70.
Yeah.
And so going into playoffs, we played Carthage up in Wisconsin, which cold, so cold.
And you know that they do that on purpose. They know that, okay, we're in Wisconsin. We know that it's going to have an effect on them. It's how did your coach, did he do anything at all to get you guys prepared for kind of having to play in those conditions?
In Chicago it's cold. I'm just from Florida. I'm just a pansy when it comes to anything below 50.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing 3 Under Armours, couple pairs of leggings.
Gloves.
Yeah, and it's so this is a stretch where it's I played a little bit mid-season. I come in 10-15, but I hadn't played in 4 matches. And he's like, Chase, you're starting. And I'm like, okay. This is great. Yeah. Why am I starting in playoffs when I didn't play at all for the last 5 matches?
Yeah.
And he's like, I think tactically you fit. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, all right, so I'm going as a 9. I'd only ever played 9 in college.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you're starting as a winger. And he's like, you played winger in high school, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, you're playing as a left winger. And I played...
It's been 3 years now.
84 minutes that match.
Wow.
I had a 4-minute rest because I got hacked and went down and had to come off and couldn't get back on in time, but he put me right back in.
Yeah.
And didn't score, ended up losing 1-0 against Carthage, but it was okay. Yeah. And I actually ended up being tied for leading scorer with 4 goals that year. So it was we didn't have...
Yeah, offensively.
We had 5 guys who tied on 4 goals.
Wow.
And I think the large part of that comes down to the defensive
just the tactics of how you guys played.
Yeah, we didn't... Our coach didn't care if our forward scored, which was kind of weird to me. But...
That's a little weird. So that was... So obviously you did 2 years there. Were you thinking about transferring before then? Or how did that kind of go about?
Yeah, so I actually spent 2.5, which for soccer terms meant I played 3 seasons.
You played 3 seasons.
So I transferred halfway through my junior year. My junior year, we got a new coach. The coach that recruited me, DeClute, he ended up resigning due to medical issues. And so we got a new coach named Marcelo who, he just cleaned house. Yeah. It was just, he brought in a bunch of transfers, which... His son was a freshman on the team, which started over our captain, which kind of was okay, you're starting your freshman son over our captain.
Yeah.
But it's one that I played 60 minutes my junior year, and 40 of them were as a defender. He just threw me on as a left back.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, he basically told me and a bunch of other guys that he's moving on. And it's like, okay, that's fair. I hated it. So that's when I decided. I was like, all right, I'm not going to play. He doesn't want me on the team. I'm going to transfer.
Yeah.
And I was looking at UNF, which is a D1 back in Florida. But before I did the portal rules, I couldn't talk to him for about 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
And one of my friends that I played club with was playing at Gordon up in Boston. And he was like, dude, come play with me. Just enjoy your senior year.
Yeah.
Like, we need a forward. You'll play.
Yeah.
They hadn't had too much success historically. Mm-hmm. But I was like, all right, I'll go. And really, the process was simple. I was in the portal for like 2 days. Nathan convinces me to start talking with his coach. I do it. Boom. Worked it out. Pretty clean.
Yeah.
I was enrolled in spring. So I entered the portal in November, was enrolled in spring, and then COVID hit. So my first 3 weeks there was before COVID. Wow. And then so we had a little bit of a break. And so it actually gave me a nice chance to get used to, a new team. Because I got about a year before I had to play instead of 6 months.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing with transferring was just...
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what. So when you say you went into the portal, because obviously we always hear about it with football and things like that. What is it like being in the portal as a player?
It's
like,
not,
how does that exactly go? Like,
it's not glorious.
How does it work?
So like the portal for soccer, like you pretty much just tell your coordinator that, hey, I'm going to be transferring, and they give you a letter that releases you.
Okay.
Quote unquote, entering the portal is literally just them releasing you. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I have this letter, now I can email coaches.
Now you can officially contact
coaches. Everyone thinks it's like, okay, all these coaches are going to contact me now. I'm a hot prospect.
They think there's a big database that's on a computer. That's not how it is. It's just... No, it's... After that, once you get into the transfer portal, it's literally like up to you to find your team.
It's like
for soccer, for football, it might be different.
Yeah, for soccer, it's just like recruiting again. So it's like, I got my piece of paper that says I'm good to go. I can email coaches. I email them just like normal recruiting, and I just attach the piece of paper, be like, hey, here's my college stuff. Here's my release letter. Yeah. You're free to talk to me.
Oh, sweet.
And that's one that going from D3 to D1, you have to wait a week, but D3 to D3 or D2, you don't.
Okay.
At least back when I was playing. And so that's why I was like, okay, I was probably going to go to UNF and just be, like a bench player, just say I played D1.
Yeah.
And then, I got the opportunity, and I was like, I'm not even going to talk to him. Like, I'm good with Gordon. So
okay. So you get to Gordon, you're in Boston now, so you just keep going to these cold places to be at. What was it like living in Boston?
Actually, even though it's further north than Chicago, it's warmer. You get those ocean breezes.
Well, I guess, you're close to the ocean, aren't you?
So. Yeah, you get the ocean breezes. It's nice. It's nothing like Florida, but, I think having one of my old teammates there helped out. You know, Nathan and I had played together for 4 years.
So was he a high school or a club? Or?
He was club.
Okay.
Played against him in high school. Mercy ruled him every time. But, played against him in high school and then played with him in club. Nice. And, he just helped me out. I think... One of the biggest things that I would say for anyone looking at college soccer is find a coach that views the game the same as you. Mm-hmm. So it's like when I was at my first team, we didn't see it the same at all. Yeah. But then I go to Gordon, and Coach Horth played for New England Revolution. So he went to Gordon. He was alumni there. Yeah. He played in MLS. So he played with the Revs. He played overseas. This guy is unreal in terms of like playing career. Yeah. Which I think is something that like everyone thinks D3 is like kind of like this low level farm league.
I think a lot of people do look at it that way. Yeah. They shouldn't.
And it's something that is just proof. Like, coaches who have either coached at the professional level. Yes. We got guys who played at the pro level.
Yeah. And it also is going to be depending on like what is your fit for your degree, because you're still a student.
Exactly.
Right? But the level is still so high at that division level.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's players playing in JUCO. There's probably players playing in CCAA. There's players playing in NAI. That should be Division I.
Absolutely.
But it just may not be the college that they wanted. Maybe they didn't get recruited very well. Maybe something happened, tore their ACL or got injury in college and lost all those offers, and this was the only one they got. But the level between I think obviously the levels are going to be different, but they're probably not as far off of us like different as we say.
No, it's something that in the major sports, basketball, football, it's a lot different. Like that is very linear, but
yes,
the lower levels here in soccer, it's something that you see quality players all over the place.
Yeah.
You got guys. It's always the cliche, but like there was a Division III player that played for Real Madrid back in the day. Like he went on and played for Real Madrid professionally.
Yeah. Who was that?
It was Solari, I think. He played 1 year Division III and then ended up going back to Madrid.
Wow.
But it's stuff like that where it's like, okay, you can find quality at any level.
Absolutely.
Like Tufts, man. Tufts up in
that's D3. That's D3.
They're D3.
Right?
They're powerhouse, man. I never got to play against
University
them.
of Chicago. That's another one. That's D3. That's pretty big.
But Tufts, when I was playing, they had a guy, because we were going to watch them. They're in downtown Boston. Mm-hmm. They had a guy who had like 50-something youth national team caps, was NYCFC Academy.
Jeez.
And it's like, this guy is like a 6'4" defensive mid. Like, had every D1 offer you can imagine with being on the youth national teams. Yeah. And he was just like, I want to be a doctor. I'm going to Tufts because I want to go to med school. Yeah. And it's like, you get some of those guys.
Well, yeah, we actually had, Ryan O'Loughlin, who's over there. That was one of his schools that was one of his dream schools. I contacted, and the coach was very respectful. He's like, hey, Ryan's a great player. He's not here, right? Yeah. It's not this kind of level. And it's very rare to be at that level. Like you said, I mean, you've got guys who are international youth caps, wherever, and they're playing at that level. Yeah. So it's just crazy the differences and some of the guys that get on these teams. It just blows my mind. I think a couple of years ago, I heard this was a rumor. I don't know if it's true, but CMU like 10 years ago had a guy that was on the Guatemala national team or something. Like he's old, he was like young or whatever, but he still played in the NAIA level. And that's all over the country is players like that. And I was going to ask you, like, what was the roster makeup? So whenever you were at Wheaton and then Gordon, was there a lot of internationals? Was it primarily Americans? Was it Illinois kids? Kind of how was that roster made up?
Yeah, so that's something that at the D3 level, we had a pretty decent amount of internationals. It's not anywhere near NAI or D2, which are the main international hubs. Yeah. But we had probably, out of the 36 on Wheaton, probably about 12. So about one-third. And then at Gordon, we had a little bit smaller roster. We had 27. But we had probably 10 out of that. Okay, that's like my strike partner. Yeah. My strike partner Roddy was from the DRC, like the Congo. Okay, and Roddy and Ngolamingi. That man was married. He was like 24 because he came over late. We called him Grandpa. Yeah, and I mean those are some of the best memories though. It's like we're a bunch of white guys. Like my roommate was this big ginger dude from Philly. Yeah, like, go Birds everywhere he went. Yeah, and then Roddy was really good friends with him, and he Africanized Michael. Like
you gotta try this food and listen to this music.
Exactly. Like we had, he would sing a song while we were doing warm-ups, Roddy, every day. And it was just...
He was just happy to be there.
Yeah, he would just put the heavy African accent on. He would just start singing it. And it's
what was he like as a player, too? I'm sure he was...
End of the bench.
Oh! You couldn't even get on the field.
Nope. Played, I think, maybe 70, 80 minutes.
But he was great to have. He's a great person.
Unbelievable.
And I honestly think there's a lot of coaches that do that. They bring in guys that they know that they're not going to play them a lot, but they're a good person. They're a good guy. And a lot of coaches, they look at guys, you may not be talented enough, but you're a great trainer. As in, you're going to work hard in practice. You're going to give the guys on the starting lineup, you're going to give them a good test every day. And you might earn yourself a little bit of playing time, which... As long as that's communicated, I think, to a player, it's nice. But if you don't communicate that to a guy, it's disheartening for them because it could take them from being all that positivity, that work ethic, and they could be like, "What am I doing? Why am I here?"
And so, like for Roddy, like I sat into the bench. I think that's probably a little bit unfair. He was a good player. Like he was a great player. Yeah. It was just I'd like to think since he played the same position as me, I beat him out fair and square. Yeah. But that man supported me like no other. Like, I don't think I have the career that I have without Roddy. Like, that man would always put me back in the headspace. I was, as a forward, you're always like, oh, man, I missed a goal. I gotta get back.
My life's right ahead.
He would always pull me right back in, never once, I mean, I know he wanted to play, and it's hard not playing. I've been there. Yeah. But he always had my back. Yeah. And it was awesome because he didn't play very much. But he comes in our senior night, and he scores a winner in overtime. We put him in. He scores a winner on senior night.
And on senior night, dude.
On senior night in overtime. It was the best. Like, I think our team celebrated more for that than when we won our conference tournament. Oh, wow. And that's something that, just seeing a guy like Roddy score a goal meant more to our squad than, winning a title. Yeah. So.
That's huge, man. Because you just feel for those guys. Like, you want them to be so successful. You want them to have those moments. Because they earned it because of how good they are as a guy. Yeah, they've earned it. So after your college career... You went and did a little bit of the USL, MPSL, NISA. Kind of talk to us about a little bit of your time at, you said Chattanooga, I think is what you said.
Yeah, Chattanooga I made 3 appearances for. So
And now they're a MLS Next team.
Yeah.
But so, whenever you were there, what were they?
NISA Pro.
Okay.
Yeah, so NISA Pro, they're up and down. I think at the time it was about the equivalent of USL League One.
Yeah.
So with that, it was one that when I went to Gordon, I went from, like I said, 4 goals was my highest tally. I ended up being an All-American at Gordon for the 1 year that I played there. Wow. I scored 19. And that's...
Makes you kind of wish you would have gone there all 4 years.
I don't know. I think part of it was that helped me grow a lot as a player.
Yeah.
Because it made me do the things that I wasn't used to.
Yeah.
So I was way
you had
more
to do that time on the bench.
Exactly.
To earn your way to where you were at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just one that I played for a coach who was like, we're going to build our attack around you. We're going to make it so that your strengths are focused.
Yeah.
And I succeeded. And that's something that I would say look for anyone going to college.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I finished my senior season. We're in the spring of my 5th year now because I took a 5th year because of COVID.
Yeah.
And I think what a lot of people don't realize is you got to get on that early. Like, those teams start in February. You got to be sending yourself out, like, immediately after your season. You can't wait.
Yeah.
So I got my highlights out. I think I emailed every team in the country.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, how did you go about, did you go for a tryout? Did you contact the coaches? Did you know somebody?
So I reached out to everyone, and I went down, I did a bunch of, open tryouts or closed tryouts. I think the closed tryouts are better once you, like, apply to them and get it, quote-unquote, accepted.
Yeah.
So I got accepted to Chattanooga's closed tryout. I went out to Chattanooga, I trained, they were like, we didn't really care how you did. We just wanted to see you put in the effort to come out in person. It's like, we liked your highlights.
Yeah.
We want you to come to preseason with us. So I go into preseason at Chattanooga in February. And it's like, okay, I'm taking off from classes. I'm sitting in the hotel doing exams while I'm in preseason. And I do okay. Like, I'm out there and I'm like, oh, okay. We got Rich Dixon, who's the captain of the team, out there with us in preseason. He's got his wife and like 8, 6, and 5-year-old kids hanging out just watching. And it's like, oh, man, I'm 21 years old sitting here with a 32-year-old Jamaican guy who's got his kids out here.
Yeah.
But their best player played my position. He was an out-and-out striker, golden boot for the league 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Unreal player. Norwegian guy named Magnus.
It's a classic Norwegian name.
Yeah. And, sorry, Marcus. Marcus Nagelstead, not Magnus. Marcus.
Well, if you said Norway and you said Magnus, I would have still thought it was Magnus.
Yeah, so Marcus, he was unreal.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm literally just competing to be a backup for him.
Yeah. And what was obviously, D3 to that?
Yeah, so I think it wasn't as big of a jump. The biggest jumps are in intensity. Okay. So it's like the ability that I had was adequate.
Yeah.
Like, I would say it's adequate. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
Like, obviously I need to grow as a player. But man, the first rondo I went in preseason, they're like going in studs up, like flying around, like before practice has started, like before the warm up, just like we're messing around. Coaches aren't out there yet. Yeah. And these guys are just flying into tackles, and it's like just the intensity is so much higher,
and the speed, like just everything they do is just a little bit faster.
Everything was one touch. Everything was perfect. Everything was on the ground, and if you didn't, the older guys would call you out.
Yeah. It
was an environment where if you made fundamental errors, they would jump on you.
Yeah.
And that's just the level. That's the standard. Yeah. The standard was so high. I adjusted fairly well. So they had a couple rounds of preseason cuts. It started out with 40. They obviously had their signed guys. I made it down to the final roster. So there's 26 guys now. Sorry, 25.
Nice.
25 guys. Marcus ended up going over on trial with Brentford. So that's when they were in the championship.
Yeah.
So the year before Brentford got promoted, he goes over there, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go.
It's mine.
Because he left like 3 days into preseason.
Yeah.
And so I'm there, and I'm like, all right, it's mine. Wages are freed up because he's getting paid exorbitant wages compared to most guys. Yeah. Because, when you're banging in 20 a year at the professional level, you're going to pay the man.
What was the pay usually for those guys?
Top guys are making $30,000-$40,000 a year at that level.
That's not bad. You're getting to play soccer and you're getting paid,
No,
livable.
and that's for 7 months of work. You still got 5 months where you can work another job.
And I'm sure you're doing camps, private lessons, other stuff to make extra money.
And so, but for, contract guys, they give you a place to live and maybe $10,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
It's like, you're getting your food, you're getting your housing paid, which is quite honestly not a bad deal.
Yeah.
Like, housing prices these days.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't mind a free house.
It's one that, it's not much, but it's enough to live on. You get to play soccer all day.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And so, come preseason, I play in the preseason games, and probably my best memory as a pro came against Memphis 901. They actually folded, but they were a championship team at the time.
Wasn't that Tim Howard's team?
It was Tim Howard's team.
I remember hearing about them.
We went and played in Memphis, and that was my first appearance for the club. It was 1-0 in the 73rd, and they subbed me in. We're down 1-0 against Memphis 901. They subbed me in. They give me like 15, 17 minutes.
Yeah.
And I come in, and 81st, I score one of the worst goals of my career. Corner comes in, I win it off the head, down off the shoulder, loops over the keeper. Because down, up.
Hey.
It went in.
A goal's a goal. That's the same amount of points as a bicycle kick. I'm telling you.
Exactly. It's one of the worst goals I've ever scored, but it was against Memphis 901 at their place, and I was over the moon. It was I get subbed in 5 minutes later, I equalized for us. We end up losing 2-1, but I'm like, all right.
You've made it.
I'm in.
At that point, you've made it.
It's right? That's my third. It's my third game for the club. Mm-hmm. Scored a goal.
Yeah.
They trusted me against Memphis 901. And then they announced Marcus is back. He got cut from his trial at Brentford. He comes back, and in order to free up wages, they cut 4 of us.
Wow. So
4 players just to make up his wages.
Jesus. And
so me, another rookie, and then I think one other guy who was coming from another club got cut. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, well, all right. What am I going to do? What am I going to be upset that they're bringing back this Golden Boot winner?
You can't blame them.
Exactly. It's business.
Yeah.
And so I was disappointed. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh man, this is it. And then go back. I'll play the summer with an NPSL team back home.
Yeah.
And then really just bounce around for a little bit.
Yeah.
Make a couple trial rosters, get, trials for a couple weeks here and there. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, I was content playing USL too.
Yeah.
I got an offer to go over to Finland.
Yeah.
And play from an agent that I worked with.
Now you want to talk about cold.
Yeah.
If you don't like the cold of Chicago.
It was one where it's I think I'm just done. And it's one that I think the biggest thing that struck me was there's no joy playing at that level. It's a job. It's a business.
It is.
It's
cutthroat.
I went from, I mentioned Roddy, and I brought that up specifically because Roddy always had my back.
Yeah.
Even though he was going for the same spot as me. Mm-hmm. Man, everyone there was trying to cut you down, even in training. There was nobody that had your back, nobody that would ever be there for you at the professional level, and I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, it's because that's their livelihood, man.
Exactly.
They're trying to pay the bills just like you
are.
I
said, Rich was out there with his kids. That's his job.
Yeah.
He's older. He's slower. He knows he's fading.
Yeah.
His job is to provide for them. Mm-hmm. It's not to play soccer. It's to provide for his family.
Yeah.
And, it's one where it's it just wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. I was I don't enjoy it enough to put in all this work and effort. And, yeah.
So, I guess that's a great segue into, the playing career is over. How did getting this job, was there any other coaching that you did before you're here?
Yeah, so I worked as a technical analyst with a couple different teams. So I worked doing a little bit of freelance, getting a little bit of pay from a Division II team.
Yeah.
So I got my degree in physics, so I'm decent with numbers.
Yeah.
But I did the analytics. So I would go through their games, I would analyze it, passes, where they would pass to, forward, progressive, stuff that coaches care about in college. Yeah. And so I did that for a couple different teams. Mm-hmm. So I actually got the title lead technical analyst and assistant coach at my alma mater, Gordon.
Okay.
And they let me do that for them, and it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
But that gave me a lot of resume. Mm-hmm. And combined with my playing career, God opened up the opportunity for me to come here to Central, take on a head coaching role, which is wild for, a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
But it's one that I'd like to think that I'm doing okay at this point.
Well, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So that's why when I started this segment, when I started this whole thing, I told you I'm a little bit infamous of you. My career goal is I'd love to be at that college level, whether it's JUCO, it's in CCAA. I want to make soccer my full-time gig, and that's what you've had a chance to do.
Yeah.
And so I kind of want to ask you, how did you find this job, and then what was the what was the thing that officially made you say, I'm going to take it, I'm going to go do it?
Yeah, so I think really, I was working as an analyst. I quite honestly wasn't like, I'm going to be a coach. I was looking at stuff in my career because with a physics degree, it's like, okay, I could probably do okay. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't what I wanted to do. I was like, I don't want to just sit in an office testing molecules all day. Yeah. And so I was looking at construction because my mom does construction industry stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I'll keep an eye out. I applied for a couple assistant jobs, whether it's D2, it was mainly D2 schools that were looking for assistants at the time, and I got into a couple final rounds of interviews. Yeah. And I was like, all right, we got this. Yeah. And they're like, we're going with someone with more experience. And I'm like, okay, I haven't been an assistant before.
You gotta get that experience.
A lot of times they're hiring guys that just graduated from, which is understandable. You want guys who know the program. Yeah. And so
maybe know the coach a little bit more.
Yeah, my coach from Gordon left. I got into the final rounds of interview for head coach at Gordon, which was way above my league. Yeah. I was surprised I got that far. Yeah. I think it was just respect from being a high-level player for him.
And also, it's good that you at least got that interview because now you got that experience of interviewing.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you go somewhere else,
Absolutely. They gave it to a guy that was actually my assistant at Wheaton, and I liked him. So I'm happy that he got the job.
Nice.
And yeah, but really, there's really only 2 job boards. Well, I guess 3 because you have NAI as well.
So I was going to ask you, how do you find, because we might be doing this for someone who's looking to get into that college level. How do you find college coaching jobs?
They haven't posted on the NCCA or the NCAA website. Okay. So there's a website for the NCAA that you just go into the job section. It's like Indeed or any of the other places. So you can see who all is looking for jobs and what sports.
That's huge.
And then there's one for the NCCA as well. And then I would assume there's one for NAI and JUCO. Yeah. But the 2, I would always look at NCCA and the NCAA. Mm-hmm. And Central came up, and it was one that was like, okay, I'd like to be at a Christian school. Yeah. Obviously, my faith is a big part of who I am, and I like to be able to share that. Yeah. So I was like, all right, let me try it out. I talked with the AD here a bit. They put me in the final round of candidates, and I'm like, all right, they flew me out here, gave me an interview, and eventually gave me a job offer. And it's one that, for me, full-time job, full-time salary, which is the biggest thing. I don't have to work another job. I can focus on this completely. Yeah. Obviously, I would love to have a higher pay. Well, yeah, but it's something who wouldn't, right? I'm not in any want. Yeah. And so that's kind of the dream in the sense of I was like, all right, this is it. So I went back home. I talked with my family, prayed about it, and, I just felt like, this is, God provided it for me. This is where I'm supposed to be, and I took it. So now I'm here, and I love it. Yeah. And that's something that, it's just took a gamble, looked at the NCCA web board for jobs. It was posted, and I was like, why not give it a shot?
Love that. Now you're here. Yeah. You've had your first season. I guess the big thing, you had to do something that a lot of coaches don't have to do. You came into a program that absolutely had 0 players. Well, let me take that back. You had 1. Yeah. Good old Clayton LeCount was on the bus. Clayton LeCount was there. Big old, I love Clayton, good guy. You had 1 player on your team, and you had to completely build a team from scratch in a state that you're not from. Yes. In a town that you're not from, that you didn't really know a lot about besides coming in. Yeah. Was that the only time you'd ever been to Missouri?
It was the first time besides WashU.
Yeah. You'd only been to Missouri 1 time before you took it?
Yeah, going to play at WashU was my only time I've been to Missouri.
Wow. So you had to do this. I guess I want to say, how did you go about starting your program? So was it more kind of, I just need players, I need to build a team with my philosophy, I need to build from the back up? How did you go about this kind of thing? Because I know what I would have done. And that's not necessarily what happened because you wound up having an entire season. You had enough players to play. Tell me about how you kind of started that.
Yeah, so the first part of it is always figuring out what the goal is. Mm-hmm. And for me, the goal is to be the best team possible. So, we have a national championship from the past. I have the banner behind me right now. Mm-hmm. And it's one that I think that from the school standpoint, is something I have to live up to. Yeah. So it's like, I want to be the best. Yeah. But the flip side of that is, it's a progress. It was never going to be year 1. Yeah. And it was, okay, can we start the wheels turning towards that? And it's one that I think the biggest thing was just getting players.
Yeah.
Like, there's plenty of guys who want to play in college, but there's not many who want to play for a team that hasn't existed.
Yes. It's
tough. That's the biggest challenge.
Because it's a gamble for them as well.
100%.
How it's going to be.
100% a gamble for the player. Mm-hmm. Like, it's safer to go be a JV player at somewhere like CMU than it is to come here and play for a team that has a new coach, doesn't have any guys returning.
Don't even know if it's going to have a team,
Exactly. So it's one that I started in November the year before we started playing. So I had about 7 months to get a team going.
Jeez.
And we didn't get our first commit until February. We had no one until February. We're sitting in February, and it's like, okay, we have no one besides Clay.
Yeah. And was there any pressure at all?
There was
AD or?
There was always support.
Yeah.
But there was always the pressure of, okay, if you don't have a team, you don't have a job. So it's like,
okay.
It's one that I think that they would have kept me on and given me another year, but I would have had to work really hard for that.
Yeah.
And it probably wouldn't have been full time again.
Yeah.
And it's one that we just had to keep trusting. I had our core beliefs, and I think that we set the goals high, but also set it at a standard that guys want to play at. Mm-hmm. You know, the biggest thing that I think helped us out was I told our guys that what we can control is how we prepare, how we set up, how we do the things that aren't result driven. Mm-hmm. And we're going to train like I got to experience at the USL and NISA Pro level.
Yeah. We're
going to do our film reviews. We're going to treat everything in a professional manner.
Okay.
Which a lot of schools that we're competing against with for players don't. But I think the biggest thing is just I can offer playing time.
Yeah.
You know, you come in, you're going to probably start year one if you're a good player.
Yeah.
And it's just between a high level environment that we can provide by doing things that that aren't affected by results, while also giving guys an opportunity to get out there and play.
Yeah.
That was the biggest things.
And that's the big thing for your freshman year. I think a lot of players, you know, especially when they come from high school or maybe they're a transfer or something like that, is they want to play.
Yeah.
And the longer and you've seen this firsthand, how different of a player could you have been if you would have played more your freshman year?
I think I could have been a different player, but I think getting to learn from guys who were better than me helped out too.
Yeah. Well, there's pros and cons on both sides, right?
Yeah.
You get too much playing time as a freshman, you think you're too good, and now you've made it.
Yeah.
Or you don't get any playing time and you can falter and quit and give up. Or it could go the other way, where you don't get any playing time, but it motivates you. Or you don't get any playing time and you just, whatever. So there's pros and cons on both ways.
Absolutely.
It just depends on the kind of players that you get. You had a great thing right there where you talked about your core beliefs. What are the core beliefs that you had set?
Yeah, so our 3 values as a team is kind of what we can control and what our goals are as a squad.
Yeah.
So number 1, we're a Christian school. We want to reflect that. You know, we want to just help guys grow in their relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
We got 1 guy, maybe 2. We got a freshman coming in next year. They're going to be pastors. What that looks like is way different than some of our guys where we got guys on our team who aren't Christians. Mm-hmm. We got guys who haven't been to church, don't know who Jesus is besides hearing people use his name as a swear word. But most of our guys are somewhere in between where they're not going to be in ministry. They're not going to go on to be a pastor. Mm-hmm. They're just going to be a normal businessman or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's just helping those guys to grow in whatever way that we can. Mm-hmm. So we don't necessarily force it on anyone from our team side of things. Like, we got 1 guy who's living with me now, Johnny. Mm-hmm. He not a Christian, but, you know, the way that I can show him that is just by loving him and giving him a place over the summer because he doesn't have anywhere.
Yeah.
And the second goal then is setting guys up for success after us.
Yeah.
So everyone loves soccer. Everyone wants to keep playing. Everyone wants to make it a career. But we're not a professional team. I get y'all for 4 years at best.
Yeah.
Probably less.
Yeah.
In some cases. So it's one that getting the degree, getting the experiences, internships, that's our main focus. Mm-hmm. Our success is by how far our guys go beyond college.
Yeah.
So if they're successful in life and have a great marriage and kids and are doing well businessman,
you set them up for success.
That's what we want. Mm-hmm. And then maybe one day, you know, they come back as donors and can give us a little bit.
You hope. So, you always hope you're going to get what like Oregon has, right? Someone's going to develop the next Nike and donate $1 million every year, right?
Yeah, I think the closest we're getting is our goalkeeper from this past year is opening up a multi-million-dollar chicken farm up in Macon.
Let's go, dude. Free chicken tenders.
I was going to say, we're going to be getting the chickens on the front of the jerseys. Give us that
there
sponsorship.
There you go.
But,
yeah, awesome.
And then finally, the one that is probably most tangible, that selfishly I enjoy the most, is being the best team we can on the field. Yeah. And that involves getting results. So it's something that the first two, we'll yet to see if we accomplish those with some of our guys. It's hard to tell after 1 year.
Those take time.
But the third one, this year we failed, but I think we took steps towards it. So
absolutely.
It's one that we didn't win a single regular season game. We were competitive in a lot, and it drove me to no end that we threw away 10 points in the last 10 minutes of games. We were leading in a few and threw them away and got draws. We lost 1-0 on a horrific goalkeeping error at one point. And it's just... And
that's how... that you could be Real Madrid, Barcelona. Those goalies make mistakes too. Like it literally could happen at any level.
Yeah, and it's one that with 18 guys on the roster, which, like I said, we have one in February, and we ended up with 18. Yeah. Which pretty solid college roster for one class. Yes. You think one class, you never really have to bring in more than 10 guys, usually, unless you're keeping a 60-man roster like some NAIs do. Yeah. But for us, that was a huge accomplishment just to have not only guys who played on our team, but some of them were pretty high level. We had some really solid guys. Yeah. And that's one that, we got it set up. But then in playoffs, it finally clicked. We got one player back in net, Noah, who was our most experienced guy, which helped out a lot. Yeah. I'm sure as a goalkeeper, you'll be the first one to say having a solid keeper is the
Having
best.
A solid keeper, back line is always... You can win games. Obviously, you've already done that with college. Like defense wins championships. Defense wins games. If you can't do it defensively, you can't... It doesn't matter how many goals you score if you can't stop them from going in.
Yeah, and that's one that, I think that in playoffs, we got a draw, and then we finally got a win, which... I think technically is a tie for third place. It was in the losers bracket.
The consolation, right?
Yeah, it's consolation.
Your region does that, and I think that's kind of cool because at least gives them one more game.
Yeah, it was effectively a third place game. Yeah. So it's something that we finally got it done in playoffs. I mean, a win and a draw in playoffs is nothing to be scoffed at.
Absolutely. Well, that's when it matters.
Exactly.
Right? Because you could lose every single game in the regular season. You go into the tournament, and you win out. You're in the tournament.
Exactly.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. So it's like we couldn't quite get across that hump, but we showed that we did have the quality, and it's like we just were so close all season and couldn't break it, but finally got it done.
Yeah. Well, I just remember because we kept up with it when they started the team back in 2021. And I saw some of the results were they lost 12-0. Yeah. I think one was 18-0. Well, you didn't have any game like that this year. No. I think your worst game was a 6-0 loss.
Worst game was 8-1.
Or 8-1.
And that was to the number 2 team in the country.
But
so the thing was, at the half, it was 1-0. Yeah. We were 1-0 at the half.
I knew you guys were competitive. There was something that happened second half. I couldn't remember what it was.
We had our goalkeeper get injured.
That's what it was.
And so we had a field player in net, and they just started raining them in.
Yes. I do remember you telling me that because I was keeping up with the scores. I was in your corner all year, man. I was trying to keep up with it, and I was really excited when they got a team because even though I didn't go to CCCB, I think the more soccer in the central area, the better. Exactly. Whether it's a JUCO, whether it's in CCAA, Division I, whatever it is, the more soccer in the central Missouri area, the better. That helps it grow. So when you guys got a program, I was super excited. And I know this school may not be for everybody, but it's a great place, especially if you're a freshman that maybe doesn't know what they want to do with their life. Yeah. Or doesn't think that they can play at the CMUs or the Columbia College, but they still want to play. It's a great place for them to go to. Yeah. It really is. And let's say they don't want to come here for 4 years. Okay, you could still come here and go to school and see it, and maybe it might change you, maybe it won't, but give it a try, Yeah. So just a couple of things before we wrap this up. Obviously you won one game last year. What are the goals? Because I've been keeping up with your recruiting. You're getting some guys that are coming in that look like decent players. What's the goal for next year?
Yeah, so I think I haven't talked about it with you yet, but it's one that we haven't announced all of our players. And I think one of the biggest things is we set a culture and we set the foundation. I think one of the biggest things of why we did well in playoffs, our guys never turned on each other. Yeah. It's hard to keep together when you don't have the results to back it.
I've been there.
But our guys never really turned on each other. They never shut down. They never stopped giving effort. Yeah. And just the culture of support that we work so hard to make, that made an impression on guys. And so we obviously we're starting to get guys. Like we're getting local guys. We got one guy from Jeff City who's 2-time All-State. We have another one who had offers from most D2 schools in the area. He would have been JV, which is why he's coming here. Yeah. But it's like we're starting to get guys who are sought after. Yeah. Our goalkeeper coming in from Ireland,
I just saw that one yesterday.
Yeah, he's a big international pickup. He had offers from Northwestern, like in the Big Ten. Yeah. Obviously would have been JV, but you know, he's made professional appearances. Like he's played in the Irish divisions. Yeah. But I think the bigger thing is we have a lot of experience coming in to help our young guys. Yeah. So without leadership and experience last year, that was a huge detriment. Yeah.
We only had a young team.
We only had one guy who would play college minutes. Yeah. And so that's something that, you know, was a big detriment. But we have 13 transfers coming in this year because they saw what we had set up and they want to be a part of that. Yeah. So I think the biggest ones are we have 7 players who have all conference or all region honors from our division.
That's awesome.
And it's one that a lot of those guys, we have 8 total players coming in who were in the national finals last year for NCCAA. And so it's like we got guys who their explicit goal is they want to win a title. They were right there last year. They were ranked number 2 in the country. Yeah. I think the kind of the standout one who's really bought in for us the most, his name's Otavio. He was captain on the number 2 team in the country last year.
And he's coming here.
Yeah, he's a 6'5" Brazilian lad. Unbelievable player. He was 1 vote off being an All-American. Wow. Like, he's just a top player. But the kid is unreal when it comes to his care for his team. Yeah. Like, he was a freshman last year, and he was captain on a really, really good team. Yeah. So you don't get to be captain on a team like that without having something special. Exactly. And he does. Like, that guy takes more care of anyone that I've ever seen. Wow. And it's like, he's obviously a good player on the field, but, you know, we got guys who are coming in from higher divisions as well. We got one guy, Lucas, who he played 2 teams in our conference. They beat one 12-0, the other one 6-1. Wow. You know, he's used to stomping teams that we play against. Jeez. And so it's setting that standard of these guys coming in, they're like, we're here to win a national title. And so it's one that, do I think we will? I don't know. Yeah. I think the thing that we can control is how we set ourselves up to do it.
Control the controllables.
Exactly. So will we go on a run? We have the quality to. You know, our quality went from okay to okay, now on paper we're actually expected to do something.
Yeah. Now, do you think that's going to add a little bit more pressure towards you now?
I think absolutely. I mean, I'll be the first one to say I back every one of my players. Yeah. If we don't have a good season this year, there's either going to be something that goes horrifically wrong, or I'm not doing my job right.
Unluckiest team in the world.
Or I'm not doing my job right. Yeah. Because ultimately, these guys are coming to play here, and I'm kind of manning the ship. So it's one that there was times where I had to take accountability last year. I set us up wrong. Yeah. Like, we played Spurgeon. I said, let's go toe-to-toe with them. We're down 3-0 in 15 minutes. We should have parked the bus. Yeah. Second time we play them, we lose 4-1, but 2 penalties and a free kick that they scored. It's like we were in the game. Right. So it's one that, you know, I set us up wrong at times, and it's one that I'm not perfect. Yeah. You know,
you're going to learn, man. You're young, you know.
But I think there was only really one time where I was like, that's my fault. Yeah. Other times it's like unlucky, whatever. But I do genuinely think that we have a squad that can go out there and make something special. And I think this early on, I'm cautious to expect it, but I'm hopeful.
Good. Nice, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. Where can anybody who's listening here, maybe they're interested in the college, maybe they're interested in contacting you, where can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm always happy to talk to guys. One of the biggest things that helps us out as college coaches is just guys reaching out with genuine interest. Okay. I don't care if they're the worst player ever. I'm still going to respond to them and try and help them out. Yeah. But it's one that, for me, I'm always happy to talk or answer questions about our team, Central Christian, or even just college soccer in general. Yeah. I think, Bridger, you have my phone number, and then my email address is chasegwynn@cccb.edu. That's the easiest way to reach me. So it's one that either of those are completely good. I don't know if that'll be in the comments or the description.
No,
but
everything you're saying right now will be in there. Everyone's going to hear it. So
perfect.
I'll make sure I throw it in there. Well, thank you so much for doing this, man. It's good seeing you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.